In the frozen skies of the north, where thunder cracks across the fjords and the aurora dances like living flame, there ride the Valkyries, warrior maidens of the gods, whose wings glisten with the dew of battle and whose gaze decides the fate of men. They are neither angels nor demons. They are choosers of the slain. Today, we unravel their story, from their divine origins beside Odin Allfather, to the songs that carried their names into legend, and the shadow they still cast across our modern imagination. This is the tale of the Valkyrja. Before the first sword was ever forged, before the first king raised his banner, the 9 worlds hung upon the great ash tree, Yggdrasil. In the realm of Asgard, home of the gods, Odin the Allfather watched over all. He saw men grow strong in Midgard, the world of mortals. But he also saw their endless wars. Every life cut short in battle sent a soul drifting like mist to the land of Hel, lost and forgotten. And so Odin conceived a plan, to gather the mightiest warriors, not to waste their courage, but to prepare them for something greater, the final war at the end of time, Ragnarök. But Odin himself could not walk the fields of men and choose the fallen. He needed emissaries, divine and fierce, loyal beyond death. And from his own will, and from the spirits of the storm, he shaped them. The Valkyrjur, the choosers of the slain. Each one shone with the light of battle, their armor gleaming like sunlight on steel, their steeds galloping across the sky, trailing clouds and lightning. They were Odin's messengers, his eyes in the chaos of war, his hands to gather heroes for Valhalla. A storm breaks over the plain. Axes crash, shields splinter. The air smells of blood and iron. And amid the thunder, riders descend from the clouds, their eyes cold, their hair streaming like banners. To some men, they appear as shimmering maidens with wings of light. To others, they are ravens circling death. But all who see them know, their fate has been chosen. The Valkyries do not kill. They select. When a warrior's courage blazes like fire, when he stands unbroken though death is near, a Valkyrja marks him. At the moment of his fall, she gathers his spirit and lifts it skyward to the halls of Valhalla, where Odin awaits. There, the chosen are reborn as Einherjar, the army of the dead who feast by night and fight by day, training for the final battle when gods and monsters will clash. To die in battle was not an end. It was a beginning. And the Valkyries were the gatekeepers of this eternal honor. But the Valkyries were more than collectors of the fallen. They were symbols of fate itself. In Old Norse belief, destiny was not a line. It was a web. And the Valkyries, like the Norns, touched its threads. Sometimes they brought life, sometimes death, sometimes love. The sagas tell of men who saw Valkyries not on the battlefield, but by the river, washing blood-stained armor, foretelling the death of those who would soon join the slain. These are the battle maidens and swan maidens of legend, creatures who could shed their feathered cloaks and walk as mortal women. If a man found such a cloak and hid it, the Valkyrja was bound to him, until she found her wings again and returned to the skies. Their beauty was said to be radiant, their gaze both a blessing and a curse. For to be loved by a Valkyrie was to be loved by fate itself. Among all Valkyries, one name echoes louder than the rest: Brynhildr. Her tale is the heart of the Valkyrie myth, a story of pride, love, and betrayal. Brynhildr served Odin with fierce devotion, but one day she defied his will. When ordered to let a coward win in battle, she instead chose the brave, and by that choice sealed her fate. Odin's wrath was cold and absolute. He stripped her of her divinity, laid her upon a mountaintop, and cast her into enchanted sleep, surrounded by a ring of fire. Only a hero without fear could awaken her. That hero was Sigurd, the dragon slayer. He passed through the flames and woke her with a kiss. Together they swore eternal love. But the world of men is crueler than the world of gods. Through deceit and magic, Sigurd forgot her, married another, and Brynhildr's heart turned to ash. In her fury and grief, she caused his death, and then joined him in the flames of his funeral pyre. Their love, doomed from the start, became one of the greatest tragedies in Norse legend, the echo of which inspired centuries of stories, from Wagner's Ring Cycle to Tolkien's Valkyrie-like maidens in Middle-earth. Brynhildr reminds us that even those who serve fate are not free from it. Across the sagas, many Valkyries appear, each with her own tale. Sigrun, who defied her father to marry a mortal hero. Gundul and Skogul, who flew over battlefields, choosing who would die and who would live. Hildr, whose very name means battle, forever reviving the slain each night so the fight never ends. In the Helgak Vida, a poem from the poetic Edda, Helgi, a mortal prince, meets Sigrun, a Valkyrie shining in armor. They fall in love, but fate tears them apart. Even after Helgi's death, Sigrun visits him in his burial mound, and there they share one last night together. A haunting vision of love beyond the grave. The Valkyrie is both a bringer of death and a guardian of honor. She rides between worlds, between love and war, between life and the endless feast of the afterlife. To understand the Valkyries, we must see the world they served. Valhalla, the golden hall of Odin. Imagine vast doors of shining wood, walls made from spears, and a roof thatched with shields. Inside, 10,000 tables stretch across the hall. At them sit the Einherjar, the chosen dead. Each morning they rise and take arms. They fight and fall, and by evening they are whole again. They feast on the flesh of the boar Serimnir, whose body regenerates each night, and drink from horns filled with endless mead. And who serves them? The Valkyries, not as servants, but as priestesses of valor, pouring mead for heroes, celebrating those they once lifted from the battlefield. Their presence fills the hall with light. And Odin, seated upon his throne, Hlidskjalf, watches with one seeing eye, knowing these warriors and these maidens of fate will one day march beside him against the giants at Ragnarök. When Ragnarök comes, the sky will split open, and fire will consume the worlds. The Valkyries will ride once more, not to choose the slain, but to fight beside them. In that final dawn, they will no longer be distant observers of fate. They will be its instruments. Many will fall, even the gods will perish. But through the flames, their names will echo in the songs of men. For centuries after the Vikings laid down their swords, the Valkyries lived on in memory. In the sagas recited beside the hearth, in the carvings on ship prows, and in the whispers of poets. In the Christian age, they became angels of war. In modern tales, they became symbols of feminine strength, freedom, and defiance. Their image endures. From Wagner's Ride of the Valkyries thundering through opera houses, to the shining warrior maidens of today's fantasy worlds. At their core, the Valkyries represent something timeless. They are the embodiment of choice, not only in who lives and who dies, but in how we meet our fate. They remind us that honor is not in survival, but in courage. That love can burn brighter than immortality, and that even divine beings are bound by destiny. Narrator, quiet, reverent. In every age, in every story, there is a moment when the sky seems to open and a rider descends in a blaze of light. That is the Valkyrie, the eternal witness of human bravery. When we fight for what we believe in, when we face the storm without fear, we ride beside them, From the cold heavens of Asgard to the halls of Valhalla, their wings have swept across the ages. They are the daughters of Odin, the mist maidens, the bearers of the slain. But more than that, they are the spirit of valor itself. Narrator, final line, powerful. And when your last battle comes, and the world grows dark before your eyes, listen closely, for you may yet hear the thunder of wings. The Valkyries ride again. This has been Mythic Story Chronicle. If you enjoyed this journey into Norse legend, remember to like, subscribe, and share for more tales of gods, heroes, and the myths that shaped our world.